Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Got a little video I'm gonna do today. We're talking about the governor of Texas. Okay, we got an election coming up this year in November, and so now basically all the candidates. The filing deadline was December 13th. 2021, so everybody's filed, and so we're just going to run over them here. I'm going to show you right here, general election right here. Delilah Barrios, I haven't contacted. Deirdre Dickson-Gilbert, and I talked to extensively today. That's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to show you the private messages between me and her, and okay, and then Patrick Wynn, he withdrawn or disqualified. Here's the Democratic primary for governor. I can't even pronounce this. Ignacio Arsenio Barrentez, Michael Cooper, Joy Diaz, Beto O'Rourke, Rich Wakeland. And I can tell you that I have contacted Beto and Joy Diaz, and maybe Michael Cooper too. Pretty sure that I contacted him too. Okay, and then on the Republican side, of course, there's Greg Abbott, our current governor, and then Paul Bello, Daniel Harrison, Candy K. Horn, Don Huffnines, Rick Perry. That's interesting, ain't it? Chad Prather and Alan West. Okay, and I was surprised to see Rick Perry's name in there, but that's what it shows. And I have contacted Alan West. I've tweeted him multiple times. I know that. Okay. Chad Prather is on my Facebook friends list, and then Rick Perry, of course, the former governor of Texas, and I was contacting him. He was the governor when I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut by somebody under my home. Okay, and so anyway, that's where we're at, and what I want to show you here, as I said, is a conversation with Deirdre Dickson-Gilbert. She's an independent former Democrat from Houston, Texas. Okay, and for whatever reason, I just picked out here. We'll go to her Facebook. I'll show you, and it shows she's a public figure at National Medical Malpractice Advocacy Association. We'll talk about that here more in a minute. And there's a picture of Deidre right there, and her Facebook. Okay. So anyway, here this is, I'm gonna start where Monday I said, good morning. My name's Buddy Webb. I live in Midland, Texas. I have an incredible story of crime and corruption, which includes many big names that you need to know about since you're running for governor. Here's a Crime Stoppers I sent in 2 weeks ago, which was deleted. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have after you watch it. Okay, so I sent in this video, a link to it, Crime Stoppers tip for multiple crimes and murders. And she writes back and goes, the video has been removed. And then so I clicked on it and said, well, I can still see it. But censorship is something I've dealt with, over and over and over after surviving this murder attempt. And so I'm wondering, how come I can see it and she can't see it? I wonder what the deal is. And so I write back, well, I can see it, and then I put a link to my YouTube channel, okay? And then I went on, I said, in this video, I'm reading the Crime Stoppers tip that I sent in, and here's that is in the text file. I tried to send you the text file, and I got an error for some reason. Do you have an email, and I send it that way? You can also call me if you want, and I'll tell you all about this fact-filled story. Abbott has known about this for a long time, and I put my phone number. Okay, so I just took the text file from the Crime Stoppers, and I tried to send it a private message. I don't know if it was too long or if it was more censorship. I just don't know. And here she gives a thumbs up. Okay, so here this morning at 8:54, I said, Miss Dixon, I'm not sure if you got to see the video that I sent you. So just in case you didn't, here's the short story to give you an idea of how big this is and how it could impact the election. I transferred to Midland in 2008 as a 25-year company man with DCP Midstream, and I bought a home directly behind the Midland Home Depot store. The young previous owner of my home, Mike Lahan, died the week before I closed on this home, which happened to be the week before the Permian Basin International Oil Show. I was told this was an accident, but I'm now convinced he was murdered here, and in fact, I was later told by Aaron Packelhofer that 4 people had been died in my home. In October 2010, my friend from work, Angie McGee Hurley, told me about a young girl that was murdered at a party going on during the oil show because she didn't want to prostitute. At the time, Angie was leaving my home and at the party in 5 minutes, and I know this because we were talking on the phone while she drove there. I tried to get Angie to report this murder, but she was afraid and told me that high-level police were also at those parties. I believe this murder and those parties were held in some secret underground homes, these parties were held in some $1 million underground homes that multiple people are now documented as saying are near my home. During the election for Midland Sheriff, I was telling Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano my story when he told me that these underground homes was the hideout for the late Sheriff Gary Painter. He didn't know that I was secretly recording him for proof. A CAD programmer named Layla O'Brien heard my story, and she told me that she worked on this underground safe house project, which was completed in 1987 with a budget of $7.35 million, and it was put in for then Vice President George H.W. Bush. She worked for PBK, who also built a school here in Midland. I also secretly recorded her. If you go to maps.google.com and put in my address at 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, then you will see a large building in my backyard on the map screen that can't be seen from above ground. Obviously, this is one of the 4 underground homes that were put in for the Bushes and used for the oil show parties. In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old black girl was found outside of Midland, who I suspect was the girl that Angie told me was murdered at the underground oil show parties, and it's easy to see that nobody's trying to solve her murder or they would expose these underground homes. The month after the oil show parties, I reported my first burglary, and 2 months later, I reported my second burglary, but this time I heard somebody in my attic. These unique crimes continued, and a year later I called the DEA and I reported a suspected tunnel going to my home, but they didn't look, and after 2 weeks I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with burglar alarms going off in the attic and my phone lines cut. Evidence was found in 2019 showing that police were under my home that night. Okay. Back then, I didn't have all the evidence that I do now, and I was called crazy, but now I have proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, proof of almost 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic, with a dozen addresses here in Midland, another dozen in Odessa, and as I've already said, multiple people documented saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, yet nothing has changed. They've tried to terrorize me into selling my home, which is a violation of the Hobbs Act, and the crimes at my home have never stopped. That is because there's an underground home in the backyard where they murdered a young girl in 2010. This is widespread racketeering and organized crime, which I believe is connected with a human trafficking ring that is going on all over the state of Texas. I was contacting Abbott when he was still the Attorney General, as he has known about these crimes for a very long time. This should be a national news story on multiple levels, but our press has been a party to hiding these crimes from the public. Here is a 2-minute video of police scanner calls that are recorded of other homeowners reporting people in the attic. And keep in mind, the city of Midland is saying that nobody has reported anybody in the attic in the last 10 years. I have 1 million views on my YouTube channel, but the general public doesn't know what is really going on in Texas. You expose this and it will make you famous, buddy. P.S. I left out the part where they faked my x-rays at the hospital and crippled me on purpose in an attempt to cover up this failed murder. Okay, So then I put this link to this little 2-minute video right here, and that's just to give her an idea of what I'm saying, because it's one thing for me to say homeowners all over reporting people attic, and it's a whole nother thing when you watch this little 2-minute video here, and
that woman is facing charges that the police say she burned down her home, get rid of someone who she claimed was in the attic.
Cigarette smoke. She took her family. They're going to be waiting out front.
31-6 Geneva. Caller stating that he heard someone in the attic.
610 Jeter. Complainant's going to be a 7-year-old male. Stating he can hear yelling and fighting. His mother's in the attic. He can hear her being assaulted.
We're only halfway through with that. And I played it before, so I'm not going to finish it. But y'all get the point. This is going to Deirdre Dickson-Gilbert running for governor of Texas, okay? And this should be a national news story. I think everybody can agree to that. I also sent her this picture that says, this is where I believe the underground home in the backyard is located. Well, this is one of my main pictures that I use all the time. It's from Google Earth 2011, okay? About 6 months before I was ambushed and shot. And it's showing the ditch that was cut behind the Home Depot store aimed directly at my home, okay? And then in the backyard, you can see, here's where it's believed the underground home, one of the 4 underground homes is located. And I'm showing on Google Maps, you go to Google Maps, put in my address, you see this large building in the backyard on the map screen, but you don't see it from above ground. And all these people are documented saying there's underground homes here. One of them was running for sheriff, okay? And so there's plenty of evidence here, obviously, clearly, that, you know, that's the underground homes I was told about. That's where the old show parties were going on. That's where the young girl was murdered at in the forced prostitution murder in 2010, October 2010. I also sent this one to Deirdre. I said, and this is the young black girl I believe was murdered at the underground old show party in 2010, which nobody is trying to solve. You know, if they were, they would expose these underground homes. That's the same picture I was showing you from Google Maps. Okay, but this is the Crime Stoppers, because in 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old girl was found outside of Midland. And October 2010, Angie, leaving my home, was at the old show parties in 5 minutes and told me about a young girl that was murdered because she'd been a prostitute. And Angie was afraid to report the murder and said high-level police were at the party. Okay. Aaron Packover. Remember, this is going to Deirdre. Aaron Packover told me that 4 people had been murdered, died in my home, and the city later grants him $72,000 to start up his dream business. Myself and many people believe that taxpayers' money was used for hush money to cover up the oil show parties at the underground homes, along with multiple murders. Okay, and I'm going to just show you that on this print screen I got. Here's a print screen of where Aaron Packover asked me on Facebook. He says, I'm aware of the many corruption accusations against the Midland Police Department. He says, can I ask you, there were 4 people who were murdered, died in your house. What are their names? Okay. And then the bottom part is where I found it online, where Eccentric Brewing Company, that was Aaron Packover's company, awarded a $72,000 grant. That's free money, awarded by the Midland Entrepreneurial Challenge. Its owners, Jamie Eel and Aaron Packover, soon began local operations in May 2018. And the question's been asked if taxpayers' money was used for hush money to silence him because he knew about 4 murders at my house. Okay. And that's what I was telling Deirdre, okay? And I say this video shows the many proofs that I have underground homes and tunnels at my home. And that one's called Proof of Underground Homes and Tunnels. And it has the recording in it where the woman tells me there's 4 3-bedroom underground homes, 25 foot deep, you know, costing over $1 million, having pedophile parties down there. Has the other secret recording of Joe Lozano, sheriff candidate, during the election, saying that Gary Painter, the last sheriff, used to hang out down there. You know, it has Layla O'Brien in there. She's the CAD programmer. It has Rhonda Denman Rogers, where she says there's an underground facility half block away. You know, Ricky Ronaldo, that told me that there's, you know, when he lived in my house, him and his brother used to go into tunnels under my house. You know, when he lived here. You know, that went to Deirdre. Okay, running for governor of Texas. I said, and I also sent her, I said, here's my first email to Abbott back in 2013 in his response. He was Attorney General back then. That was many crimes ago, and as I've said, people all over are now documented reporting people in the attic. Okay, so I'm just showing you here, January 31st, 2013. You know, that was what, 1 year after I had barely survived a premeditated murder attempt. They cut my phone lines and shot me by surprise inside my own home. Okay, and you know, and so here I'm showing, you know, I said, I believe there's some kind of illegal facility under my home. That was going to Attorney General Greg Abbott back in January 2013. And I got a response on February 1st, 2013. Greg Abbott from Donna Lee, the public information, and this come from after I sent it to Greg Abbott. So Greg Abbott has known about what these crimes for many, many, many years. And now there's all kinds of homeowners, okay? I said, and this one, I said, this is the spreadsheet showing the addresses of some of the homes where I documented that the owners have reported people in the attic since I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going on my attic and my phone lines cut. You know, it's I think 42 on here. There's now more of them. All the time people are telling me about another house. You know, I mean, my latest recording was from New Year's Day. I'm on the phone to a Grande tech, and she's telling me how she lost her life savings due to people in the attic, and that was in Kyle, Texas. She lived over by Austin. You know, that's not even on this spreadsheet right here. And then these are the addresses here in Midland, and you know, and they're, like I said, a lot of these are from my police scanner. We listened to a couple of them, and then these are the ones in Odessa, and a lot of them are from police scanner. And then they went and blocked all their, you know, their police scanner calls, so you can't record them no more. You know, they figured that out. You know, oh yeah, we know how to break into homes. You know, and then it's other homes on other locations here. Carlsbad, Hobbs, Los Lunas, Belmead, Texas, Austin, Andrews. Like I said, there's a woman in Alabama. She contacts me. People in California contacted me. Here's where it gets interesting. Deirdre writes me back, okay? So here we go as a possible new governor of Texas. She says, I've received this information. How exactly are these people getting in the attic? Your attic is above ground, so where are they coming from? I know you said a tunnel somewhere. Is it underneath your home that has access through your floor to enter your home? If so, why not cement it in? Better yet, why not move? I don't doubt there are tunnels because the Mexican cartel had one. What I'm not understanding is how are these people underneath the ground entering your home? Well, that's a fair question. Okay. So here's another little read I wrote to Deirdre today. I said, good question. I believe that my home and the many others now documented where the owners have reported people in the attic are rigged with a tunnel under the home which goes up a wall where there's a crawl space. This allows them to come and go without being seen. They then steal heating, cooling, and electricity from the homeowner, which is another felony called theft of services. Most walls don't have enough physical space, so there are only a few places in a home this could happen at. Most likely, the tunnel originates at a nearby neighbor's house since that is the shortest path. And I've identified where I believe a tunnel entrance was located in my neighbor's backyard. After I posted about this in the public and reported it to law enforcement, it was removed. Keep in mind, this isn't a what if or a could be, as I saw a young Hispanic guy in my attic, and I made about 100 videos of burglar alarms going off in my home. I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off in my attic. I finally proved they were hacking cameras and provided this evidence to DHS, the FBI, the Sheriff Department, and the Texas Rangers. That should also be a national news story. Okay. The 50 other homes that I've identified, which includes a dozen addresses in Midland, another dozen in Odessa, is the tip of the iceberg and represents an unknown number of burglaries, thefts, and murders. Obviously, the people that rigged this home are the same ones that are forcing little girls to prostitute and or murdering them at underground oil show parties, and they desperately want me to move now that I survived this premeditated murder attempt, but they ruined my life. My 28-year career was ended, and I'm now disabled with my reputation smeared as they call me crazy when I'm a crime victim who worked all of my life and bought the American dream a home. I have 3 grown children and 8 grandchildren who live under the shame of the lies about me. I want them to know the truth about their granddad before I die. Furthermore, I have no proof that cartel being involved, but I do have proof that corrupt police were involved, and in fact, I have their names. When I returned from the hospital, I found pictures on my security cameras of police inside my home staging the crime scene, but I didn't have a police report showing that police were here. I sent these pictures to the chief, mayor, sheriff, DA, and others, but nobody would name them, so I offered a $2,000 reward to anybody that could identify the secret police. This was the first time in the history of America that a crime victim was forced to offer a reward to identify police, but not a news story in the nation. It's been unprecedented lawlessness. 6 years later, Empire Private Investigations identified all 11 of them, and it was incredible. The first one that showed up was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, and this is Midland County. He was followed by the late Midland Sheriff Mike Naylor, Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, who died in the line of duty in 2014. Seen inside my home was Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson, and he was the cop that murdered his wife and killed himself 2 months after Naylor died. Now there are 2 secret police and a policeman's wife dead who are connected with the premeditated murder attempt on my life that's connected with the murder of the young girl at the Underground Oil Show party in 2010 and the suspected murder of the young previous owner of this home who died the week before the 2008 oil show started. Some people have wondered if Naylor and Simpson were going to snitch on the other secret police, and they were silenced. The next year, in 2019, it was found out there was a police report all along that had been withheld even though it had been subpoenaed. It timestamped 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, in or at my home when they were not seen arriving on the cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor minutes earlier. All of my other doors were secured with extra locks due to the crimes I'd been reporting to the police. So this told me that those police were under my home, and it was somebody under my home that had shot me by surprise with my phone lines cut. I'm supposed to be as dead as the last homeowner, but God saved my life. One day this is going to be exposed with or without your help because there are underground homes here, just like the many people have said. You can see it on Google Maps. That is the reason they're trying to terrorize me into selling my home and moving. There is no doubt these are cold-blooded killers who can follow me anywhere I go. Homes don't kill people. It's people that do that. We must find somebody who will restore rule of law in Texas. This is an embarrassment for all good police not involved in for-profit murders of citizens that report crimes to them. And I put two links to videos here. Pictures of the secret police and during the commission of a felony. And then that just backs up, gives the name of the police. It shows the police pictures. Everything I said in there, it shows the evidence backing it up. Of Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale. And it also talks about that trap burglar, which seems to be a big deal, because I was shot during a burglary, which the irony is I had been reporting burglaries to police, and now it's real easy to see the police were working with the burglars that are breaking into the homes, and I'm reporting the crimes to them, but they're involved in the crimes. Okay, now here's our next one from Deirdre Dickson-Gilbert. This is where it gets interesting, I think. Buddy, I don't doubt there are tunnels, but if this is as deep as you say, then move. I know there were talk of tunnels underneath Walmart, and it seems information is out there that proves it. I'm not sure what I can do about that. If there's illegal activity, then try to find organizations that deal with human trafficking and other agencies not connected to the police to get to the bottom of this. I myself will not stay in that home that has that much history of danger and where I have to deadbolt my bedroom to sleep. This is definitely scary and dangerous, and I agree someone should investigate, but who? And it's kind of interesting. She somehow knew that I bolted my door shut because I didn't tell her that. Okay, the people watching my Facebook know that, right? And of course I bolt my bedroom door shut. I got people breaking in this house. This home's rigged. There's an underground home in the backyard, right, where they murdered a little girl. They tried to murder me. They murdered the guy who lived here before me. The corrupt police were under my home, and when I'm shot by somebody under my home, it's a dangerous situation. Here's my reply. Selling my home helps the criminals who are rigging homes for burglary, theft, and murders, but it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't clear my name. It doesn't provide me justice, and it doesn't even make me safer. And this is more than just my home, but homes all across Texas and America. The reason I'm writing her is because she's running for governor of Texas. Furthermore, I don't believe that all police are sneaking under homes and helping to murder innocent homeowners who have reported crimes to them. Clearly, we have some very bad apples, but I'm counting on the good police to stop them. Everybody should be able to live safe inside their homes. That's why I'm paying taxes, right? Here's another story. In 2019, I contacted Homeland Security as they're the ones who are supposed to take care of human trafficking, and I provided them with the 3-ring binder of evidence that I believe could solve multiple murders and stop this crime. Remember, she said, contact organizations involved in human trafficking. That's why I told her the story. On July 2nd, 2019, DHS agent Paul Cervantes contacted me and asked me to meet them at the Midland Home Depot store directly behind my home. This was the same day that Vice President Pence mysteriously turned around in the air and flew back to Washington, which made national news. He had been in Midland just a couple months earlier meeting oil company leaders. Okay. I was excited thinking that I finally found a good cop. When I got over there, he surprised me and said in a hateful tone of voice, I don't know why you don't sell that home if you're living under the threat of death. I couldn't believe that he said that to me. And immediately it was clear that he was working with these violent criminals. I've compared it to the police being called for a bank robbery and a shooting, but when the police show up, they say, "I don't know why you don't sell this bank if you're getting robbed." Do you see how absurd that is? I then explained the Hobbs Act to him, which says it's against federal law to conspire with others to terrorize a property owner into selling their property under threat. This carries 20 years in prison and can be done to anybody for their home, oil wells, or their grandmother's wedding ring. It's organized crime and racketeering. It's textbook and its textbook definition of what is going on here. We then went behind the Home Depot store, and I showed them where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was located, going from there to my home and used for the oil show party murders. We also looked in my backyard where it's believed one of the 4 underground homes is located. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and concrete was being poured there, but I got it on camera. That video went viral, and as it seems clear, this was tampering with evidence and obstruction of justice in capital murders. That is a death penalty case. 2 weeks later, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announces his retirement, and come to find out, his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my rigged for murder home that had an underground home in the backyard, where they were having oil show parties and where it's believed forced prostitution was happening along with the murder of a young girl. 3 months after this viral video, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kevin McClellan resigns, and 6 days later, U.S. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigns. I've guessed that some multi-billion-dollar oil companies were leaning on them to help cover up the oil show party murders, and then they got caught pouring concrete. Maybe that tunnel has DNA evidence in it. That gives you an idea of how big this is. What is surprising to me is that you're a former Democrat and these are Republicans. It seems like if you took these facts to the American public, it would make you a hero and get you the governor's seat. Maybe later the presidency. It's all about integrity. Sooner or later, these underground homes will be exposed, and then everybody will know. I would think you would want to be known for the person that helped stop this murderous crime ring. And then I put a link to this video, Busted Corruption, at the top. And that's the one that's showing everything I just told there about the DHS and all that. I put a link in this. This is going to the, Deirdre, who's running for governor of Texas. And it's showing where they're pouring concrete. And I say it there at the top. 2 weeks before this, I was right there with Homeland Security, showing them where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was located. You could see it on Google Maps where the tunnel was at. That's where they're pouring concrete back in here, okay? Here's my home. Here's where the underground home is. That's where the murder's believed to be at, where they murdered that little girl, the forced prostitution of a little girl, And then here, that was July 17th when that viral video was made. July 30th, Conaway announces a retirement. Come to find out, his brother-in-law used to live across the street from this rigged for murder home. That's what I was saying, okay? And then here, 3 months later, Kevin McClellan, acting Homeland Security Secretary, resigns. 6 days after that, Energy Secretary Rick Perry resigns. The timing is just amazing, and I've suspected that maybe the multi-billion-dollar oil companies are wanting to cover up the underground oil show party murders. We're leaning on the Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry, who was governor of Texas when the parties were going on, right? And then they got caught on camera pouring concrete, which some people might call obstruction of justice in capital murders. Okay. My next comment to her was, I have proof of Homeland Security agent Paul Cervantes asking me about selling my home while I live under the threat of death on the day I showed him where a human trafficking murder tunnel was located. I sent him this video called Decided to Sell My Home. It says, due to the many people who have asked, suggested, or ordered to sell my home, I finally agreed and set the price at $1 billion. I had no offers, but this proved not only do they want to terrorize me into selling my home, they also want to set the price that I sell it for. I was making a point when I did that, okay? And so here I sent this picture here, and basically this is my move post, what I call it. I'd move over and over. Hundreds of people, I'd move, real hateful. Sell and move the F out, you moron, just hateful. You got two choices, move or meet God early. That was another one I got, And then here's some of the death threats I got, I said, here, like Lance Eggleston, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You will be silenced. Not if, but when. That's one of the death threats, Here's another one. Fast forward 2 weeks later, Buddy Webb's nowhere to be seen or nobody's seen him, and on and on and on. And then here's the Hobbs Act, and that comes straight from Wikipedia. And it says anybody, the other part of underlined, or extortion or attempts to or conspires to will be fined, enter this title, in prison more than 20 years. The statute is frequently used in connection with cases involving public corruption. Extortion means the obtaining of property from another with his consent, induced by the wrongful use of actual or threatened force, violence, or law, or under color of right. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know why you don't sell a home. You're living under the threat of death. And this is a law enforcement officer that's supposed to be stopping human trafficking. Yeah, and that's what I said. Here's the other one I want to show you. These are the text message from Paul with Homeland on that day. We're in the parking lot, and I'm in a black Ford, right here, And then I sent him that video there on decided to sell my home. And I said, okay, my home's for sale, $1 billion. Cover the money, and I'm out of here, Oh, no, we want to set the price too, Well, not only do we want to terrorize you out of your property, we want to tell you what to sell your property for, But anyway, here's what he says. Buddy, let's get everything. I'm not trying to talk you into selling your home. I simply ask you why you wouldn't consider selling your home if you continue to feel threatened there. That's exactly what I'm saying. Remember, our entire conversation was recorded. I would love to take that recording and post that on YouTube. I love to. Deirdre didn't reply, so I wrote again. I said, I noticed that your Facebook showed you were associated with the National Medical Malpractice Advocacy Association. So let me tell you another story. A few months before the premeditated murder attempt, I married a nurse from Midland, and she comes home from work real upset one day and whispers in my ear, the secret is that a group of doctors are killing people for profit. She whispered because she didn't want the people in the attic to hear her tell me this. She was dead serious, and I believed her then, and I believe it now. In fact, I suspect it may have been those doctors involved in the planning of my murder where I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home from point blank range directly at an artery with my phone lines cut. On another night, I was out of town at a business meeting, and she went to a dinner put on by a pharmaceutical company along with doctors. She told me on this phone call that night about a medicine that, when given incorrectly, would cause cancer in 172 days, and she suggested this was being done. She was a cancer nurse. We separated a few weeks before the murder attempt, after I crawled out and survived. I crawled out because they'd cut my phone lines before shooting me by surprise. The ex-wife comes by my home, and we're looking over my medical records. She seemed upset about what happened to me, and she hints that my medical records had been falsified, and she was right. She also points out that my ER doctor was her brother-in-law, who I was never told about. I suspect he may have been one of the doctors that she had told me about, and they're connected with the underground home crimes. I later found 3 proofs of my x-rays being faked. You can see these proofs in the video link before. It looks like they took the x-rays of another guy that had been shot 11 days before me, and they put my name on them. This was done because that guy had been shot with a shotgun when I hadn't been, but they were trying to say that I was. That way they could call this failed murder an accident. Keep in mind that I was supposed to die, and then she would have gotten this special home. Okay. As seen in the video, a couple of months later, a radiologist named Dr. Hinton stated on a report that he compared my x-rays from 1/17/12 to others I had taken on 1/19/12 when I had been shot 11 days later on 1/28/12. I knew this wasn't a typo since it was 2 different dates, and that is why I suspected somebody else had been shot with a shotgun in the same foot as I was, and they used his x-rays and put my name on them. A couple of weeks ago, another nurse told me that she knows who was shot 11 days before me. This was in the Crime Stoppers that I sent in. That was my first message to her, remember? My first proof was at the office of the late Dr. Glass when I noticed an x-ray we had supposedly just taken was missing a recent broken toe. I'd broke it in half just a few months before the murder attempt, which turned out to be another miracle. You should know that broken bones will forever be seen in x-rays. Okay. I had also noticed on the x-rays from the night of the murder attempt that the heel bone was missing, and I knew it hadn't been shot off. In fact, the ER doctor stated that I had a through-and-through gunshot wound that appeared to have come from a shotgun. After they faked my x-rays, they then took me into surgery and cut off my heel bone to match the fakes. I was intentionally crippled for life on purpose to cover up this premeditated, for-profit murder attempt. Another proof was medical records that showed the brother-in-law, the ER doctor, ordered 3 x-rays, but then a still secret lab tech named User in Interface canceled the doctor's orders and ordered 2 x-rays. This lab tech then returned x-rays timestamped 10 minutes before the doctor had ordered them. He was already working on faking my x-rays. I've suspected User in Interface might be Dr. Hinton, as I would later see that he had charged me and my insurance companies for those faked x-rays. After the first surgery, where I believe the intentional maiming, mutilation, and partial amputation happened, came repeated and desperate attempts to talk me into allowing them to cut off my leg at the knee. I believe they were wanting to cut off the evidence, but thanks to clues from my dad that something fishy was going on, I kept saying no. 6 months later, my company of 28 years placed me on long-term disability, but thankfully I was paying for disability insurance and I have a little bit to live off of. These cold-blooded killers have cost me so much you can't imagine. I reported this to the Texas Medical Board, who told me they were sending it to the Enforcement Division and asked me to be patient. That was in 2015, and I'm still waiting. In addition, I have a copy of the email that I sent to then Attorney General Greg Abbott about these horrific and nightmarish medical crimes. This has also been reported to the Sheriff, Texas Rangers, DHS, and FBI. It's hard to find anything to compare this to, as it's horrific, nightmarish, and beyond evil. There are lifetime consequences for the victims of violent crimes, so you can see why I refuse to limp off and let them get away with this. Keep in mind, the ex-wife didn't say they were just killing me for profit, but people. So there's no telling how many men, women, and children they have killed. I believe this evidence of them faking my x-rays could stop them if I could just find one good person. And I put a link to this video called Dr. Glass's Wife. And that's the one showing the proof of the medical crimes, you know. And so here, I put several here. I'm showing this, broke my toe here. You can see it's broken in half. And that was just a couple months before the murder attempt, okay? But then at Dr. Glass's office, we take these x-rays. He puts his x-ray on the screen. The broken toe's not there. That was my first proof, okay? And then my second proof is where I noticed that this x-ray here, before surgery, the heel bone's missing. And what I did, I used this x-ray here when my toe was broke just to show you the size of my heel bone and show you that the heel bone's gone. That's not my foot. My heel bone wasn't shot off. And that was the point right there. You know, and I said that a minute ago. So I knew they'd faked them x-rays. But that guy was missing his heel bone. They took his x-rays, put my name on them, okay? And then I also put here on the third proof was the timestamps where the ER doctor ordered 3 x-rays, a secret lab tech, User in Interface canceled doctor's orders 2 x-rays, and they returned the x-rays timestamped 10 minutes before they were ordered. You know, so that was 3 proofs that they faked my x-rays. There's absolutely no doubt. Okay, so then they took me into surgery. They cut a big old hole in the side so to make it look like I was shot with a shotgun, and then cut my heel bone off to match the fake x-rays. This picture, this gross picture was 17 days after the murder attempt. Okay, you could look down into my foot. Okay, and you know that's what they did to me on purpose. Okay, this is what my foot looks like today. This is what I walk on right here today. Okay, that's what they did to me. Okay, when I got to the hospital, I had 2 small holes in my foot. This right here, I went through the medical records and I was looking for every time they mentioned amputation. Day after day after day after day after day after day after day. You know, not willing to have a BKA, below the knee amputation. Placement is required by the police there. You know, continue wound care versus BKA. He will continue BKA. That's saying it may very well require below the knee amputation. This went on for a few months. They were desperate to cut off my leg. I believe they were wanting to cut off the evidence. That's what I was showing. And then now I want to show you here. This is email from November 2014 to Attorney General Greg Abbott. Talking about killing people for profit, giving people cancer, the irrefutable facts. My x-rays are fact. Greg Abbott has known about these horrific, nightmarish medical crimes for a long time, okay? This right here is from the Texas Medical Board in October 2015. Please be patient as we will receive a response from the enforcement support regarding your communication. It says your communications has been submitted to our enforcement support division of the Texas Medical Board. Okay, they're the ones that are supposed to take care of the public. I'm still waiting, and that was 2015, right? And there's undeniable evidence. I also testified under oath in court, the 318th Judicial Court here, and this is my testimony in court. Under sworn oath, she said, the ex-wife, the secret is a group of doctors killing people for profit. What she didn't say the entire time was married, that her brother-in-law was a doctor, okay, and turns out to be the ER doctor on the night them x-rays are faked, okay. And then this one was to Texas Rangers, Jeffrey Strain, and I'm telling him in an email in 2017, I believe the biggest crime is what I was told by the ex concerning the doctors. She whispered in my ear with 100% sincerity, the secret is that a group of doctors are killing people for profit. And Texas Ranger Strain said, how would doctors make money killing people? And I wrote back and I said, I suggested, why don't you ask her? And I reminded him of the recording that me and her made where she admitted to felony extortion. She actually stuck her finger in my chest and says, here's what you're going to do. If you don't pay for me an apartment, I'm going to tell everybody you're crazy. And that was $1,800 a month. And she was a witness to the crimes here. And I said, I ain't doing it. And she goes to court, and that's what she did. She called me crazy. And now my name's been smeared all over the world, because of this murder attempt. So all this goes to Deirdre here, who's running for governor, and I want to show you here, public figure at the National Medical Malpractice Advocacy Association. I'm waiting on a reply. I think I'm going to send this to the other candidates for governor. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.